dietary fat and risk of coronary heart disease. A pooled analysis of 11 cohort studies. Abstract. Background. Saturated fatty acid, SFA, intake increases plasma LDL cholesterol concentrations. Therefore, intake should be reduced to prevent coronary heart disease, CHD. Lower habitual intakes of SFAs, however, require substitution of other macronutrients to maintain energy balance. Objective. We investigated associations between energy intake from monounsaturated fatty acids, MUFOs, polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFOs, and carbohydrates and risk of CHD while assessing the potential effect-modifying role of sex and age. Using substitution models, our aim was to clarify whether energy from unsaturated fatty acids or carbohydrates should replace energy from SFAs to prevent CHD. Design. This was a follow-up study in which data from 11 American and European cohort studies were pooled. The outcome measure was incident CHD. Results. During 4-10Y of follow-up, 5,249 coronary events and 2,155 coronary deaths occurred among 344,696 persons. For a 5% lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from PUFOs, there was a significant inverse association between PUFOs and risk of coronary events. Hazard ratio 0.87, 95% CI 0.77, 0.97. The hazard ratio for coronary deaths was 0.74, 95% CI 0.61, 0.89. For a 5% lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from carbohydrates, there was a modest significant direct association between carbohydrates and coronary events. Hazard ratio 1.07, 95% CI 1.01, 1.14. The hazard ratio for coronary deaths was 0.96, 95% CI 0.82, 1.13. MUFA intake was not associated with CHD. No effect modification by sex or age was found. Conclusion. The association suggests that replacing SFAs with PUFAs rather than MUFAs or carbohydrates prevents CHD over a wide range of intakes. See corresponding editorial on page 1283. Introduction. The effect of dietary fat on risk of coronary heart disease, CHD, is at least partially mediated by the effect of dietary fat on plasma lipids. 1. National health organizations, 2, 3, recommend dietary changes that reduce intakes of saturated fatty acids, SFAs, to prevent CHD. The rationale is to reduce the LDL cholesterol concentration in plasma. A lower habitual intake of SFAs requires substitution of other macronutrients to maintain the energy balance. The question remains whether a lower intake of SFAs should be replaced with a higher intake of unsaturated fatty acids or a higher intake of carbohydrates. One follow-up study examined the risk of CHD with a lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids or carbohydrates. 4. The results from that study showed that replacing SFAs with unsaturated fatty acids was inversely associated with risk of CHD, whereas replacing SFAs with carbohydrates was not associated with risk of CHD. In another follow-up study, it was found that sex and age modified the association between intakes of SFAs and risk of CHD. 5. In that study, SFA intake was strongly directly associated with risk of CHD among women aged 60Y but not among women aged 60Y among men. The results indicated a direct association between SFA intake and risk of CHD among men aged 60Y but not among men aged 60Y. Effect modification by sex and age may be due to hormonal differences. Female sex hormones have estrogenic activity and male sex hormones have androgenic activity. Furthermore, after menopause the female sex hormones decline. Moreover, effect modification by sex and age may be due to differences in the underlying hazard functions. In the present study, we pooled data from 11 American and European studies included in the pooling project of cohort studies on diet and coronary disease and investigated associations between energy intakes from unsaturated fatty acids and carbohydrates and the risk of CHD while assessing the potential effect-modifying role of sex and age. Using substitution models, our objective was to clarify whether energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids or carbohydrates should replace energy intake from SFAs to prevent CHD. Pooling data allows study of associations between major types of dietary fat and risk of CHD in different populations with different diets and over a wide range of intakes. Subjects and methods. Study population. The criteria for inclusion of studies in the pooling project of cohort studies on diet and coronary disease were as follows. 1. Published follow-up study with 150 incident coronary events. 2. Availability of usual dietary intake. And 3. A validation or repeatability study of the diet assessment method used. 6. Through literature searches and inquiries with experts in the field, 14 American and European cohort studies were identified and investigators of 11 studies agreed to include their data in the project. 6. The included studies are presented in Table 1, 4, 5, 7-15. The follow-up of the nurses' health study was divided into 2 periods for analysis to take advantage of the repeated assessments of dietary intake and the long follow-up. Following the underlying theory of survival data, blocks of person time in different periods are statistically independent, even if derived from the same persons. 16. 2 of the 11 included studies were randomized primary prevention studies, the alpha-tocopherol and beta-carotene cancer prevention study, 8TBC, and the Women's Health Study, WHS. The treatments were
alpha,
tocopherol,
beta,
carotene, or both in the 8TBC and
alpha,
tocopherol and aspirin in the WHS. Table 1. Characteristics of the cohort studies included in the pooling project of cohort studies on diet and coronary disease. 1. Median age at baseline, 80% central range. Median follow-up time number of CHD events. Median dietary fat intake, 80% central range. Study calendar year of inception. Baseline cohort. Fatal and non-fatal CHD events. CHD deaths. Fatal and non-fatal deaths. Dietary assessment. SFAs. MUFAs. PUFAs.
NE tanto% of energy.
AHS 7, 1977 FFQF 13,430 39-76 6.36.375 4111.3 9.4 to 14.9 12.7 11.0 to 14.4 8.8 7.2 to 10.6 M9212.55 39-74 6.36.3 148 49 10.7 9.0 to 14.0 12.6 11.4 to 14.1 9.0 7.7 to 10.4 ARIC 8 1987 FFQF 26481.53 47-62 9.2 123 11.8 8.1 to 15.7 12.5 8.5 to 16.3 4.9 3.4 to 6.9 M5240.54 47-63 9.2 9.2 269.51 12.8 9.0 to 16.5 13.8 9.8 to 17.2 5.1 3.6 to 7.0 ATBC 9 1985 FFQM 21141.57 51-65 6.0 6.1 1339 534 19.9 14.5 to 25.7 13.7 11.4 to 16.2 4.7 3.3 to 9.0 FMC 10 1966 DHF 2481.49 38-65 10.0 10.0 162.48 19.9 14.5 to 25.8 11.3 8.7 to 14.2 2.2 1.7 to 3.8 M2712.47 37-63 10.0 10.0 320 to 147 21.3 16.1 to 26.9, 11.9, 9.4 to 15.0, 2.3, 1.8 to 3.7, GPS, 5, 1974 DH/70 F166650, 40-60, 10.0, 10.0, 34, 14, 19.5, 14.2 to 24.8, 15.2, 11.3 to 18.6, 6.6, 4.5 to 9.5, M165850, 40-60, 10.0, 10.0, 100 to 38, 19.7, 14.5 to 25.0, 15.8, 12.0 to 19.5, 6.6, 4.5 to 9.5, HPFS, 11, 1986 FFQM 41754-53, 42-67, 9.7, 9.7, 1273 421 11.3, 7.8 to 14.8, 12.7, 9.1 to 16.0, 5.9, 4.3 to 8.0, IIHD, 12. 1963 FFQM 38272-48, 41-59, 10.0, 165 9.4, 6.0, 13.2, 10.2, 7.2, 13.4, 6.4, 3.6, 9.5, IWHS, 13, 1986 FFQF 330180-61, 56-67, 10.0, 294 12.0, 9.1 to 15.3, 12.6, 9.4 to 15.6, 6.1, 4.3 to 8.2, NHSA, 4, 1980 FFQF 81415-47, 38-57, 6.5, 6.5, 397, 97, 16.1, 11.5 to 20.7, 16.5, 11.6 to 21.4, 5.2, 3.6 to 7.5, NHSB, 4, 1986 FFQF 61706-52, 43-62, 10.0, 10.0, 696 208, 11.6, 8.6 to 15.0, 12.1, 9.1 to 15.2, 6.0, 4.3 to 8.2, VIP, 14, 1992 FFQF 2 10555-50, 40-60, 4.1, 23, 14.3, 10.8 to 18.3, 11.9, 9.4 to 14.7, 4.4, 3.5 to 6.0, M9521-50, 40-60, 4.1, 4.1, 134, 38, 15.7, 11.9 to 20.1, 13.1, 10.3 to 16.3, 4.7, 3.7 to 6.4, WHS, 15, 1993 FFQF 37272-52, 46-64, 5.3, 152, 10, 10.1, 7.1 to 13.5, 11.1, 7.8 to 14.6, 5.6, 4.1 to 7.6, all studies for 344,696, 71, 6.5, 6.5, 5,249, 32, 2,155, 34, 1. AHS, Adventist Health Study, ARIC, Atherosclerosis Risk in Community Study, 8 TBC, Alpha-DOCA for All and Beta-Carotene Cancer Prevention Study, CHD, Coronary Heart Disease, DH, Dietary History Interview, FFQ, Food Frequency Questionnaire, FMC, Finnish Mobile Clinic Health Study, GPS, Glostrup Population Study, HPFS, Health Professionals Follow-Up Study, IIHD, Israeli Ischemic Heart Disease Study, IWHS, Iowa Women's Health Study, MUFOS, Monounsaturated Fatty Acids, NHSA, Nurses Health Study 1980, NHSB, Nurses Health Study 1986, PUFOS, polyunsaturated fatty acids, SFAs, saturated fatty acids. 7D. 70 Weight Food Record, VIP, Visturbitin Intervention Program, WHS, Women's Health Study. 2. Insufficient events for analysis of coronary deaths among women. 3. Because IIHD and IWHS had only self-reported data on non-fatal CHD, we used only fatal CHD events from these studies. 4. Percentages of females in parentheses. View large criteria for exclusion of persons from the population at risk were as follows: age, 35Y, history of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, or cancer, other than non-melanoma skin cancer, and extreme energy intake, i.e., or 3 SDs from the study-specific log-transformed mean energy intake of the population. The final population consisted of 344,696 persons, 71% women, Table 1. Exposure measures. Dietary intake was determined at baseline by using a food frequency questionnaire or a dietary history interview, Table 1. The validation and repeatability of the diet assessment methods were evaluated and were found reasonable for population studies of the nutrients of interest. Total energy intake was calculated as the sum of energy intake derived from fat, carbohydrates, and protein. Derived exposure measures were dietary intake of monounsaturated fatty acids, MUFOS, primarily N9-oleic acid, also known as omega-9 oleic acid, polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFOS, including N3 and N6 fatty acids, also known as omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, primarily N6 linoleic acid, and carbohydrates. The MUFA and PUFA for which the data are reported in the Israeli Ischemic Heart Disease Study, IIHD, were the N9 mufoleic acid and the N6 bufalinoleic acid. Outcome measures. The outcome measures were fatal CHD, including sudden death, and non-fatal myocardial infarction. Standardized criteria were used to ascertain events of fatal and non-fatal myocardial infarction. 6. Because the IIHD and Iowa Women's Health Study, IWHS, had only self-reported data on non-fatal CHD, we used only fatal CHD events from these studies. Statistical analyses. Within each study, hazard ratios, HRs, with 95% CIs for the incidence of a coronary event and of mortality from CHD were calculated by using Cox proportional hazards regression with time and study, Y, as the time metric. The observation time for each participant was defined as the number of months from the date on which information on diet was obtained until CHD occurrence, death of another cause, disappearance, or end of follow-up, whichever came first. Studies with follow-up periods, 10Y, were truncated to reduce possible effect modification by time. 2 models were used to investigate whether energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids or carbohydrates should replace the energy intake from SFAs to prevent coronary events. Model 1 included intakes of MUFOS, PUFOS, trans fatty acids, TFAs, carbohydrates, and protein expressed as percentages of total energy intake, as continuous variables, and total energy intake, kcal-D, as a continuous variable. Age at baseline, Y, and the calendar year in which the baseline questionnaire was returned were entered into the model through the strata statement, thus assuming the same effect for the variable of interest but allowing the underlying hazard functions to differ with respect to age and time of collection of dietary information. Model 2 included variables in Model 1 and CHD risk factors measured at baseline: smoking, never smokers, former smokers, and current smokers of 1-4, 5-14, 15-24, or 25 cigarettes. D, body mass index, in kgm2, 23, 23-25, 25-27.5, 27.5 30, or 30, physical activity, levels 1-5, highest attained educational level, high school, or high school, alcohol intake, 0, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 30, 32, 50, or 50 GD. History of hypertension. Yes or no? And energy-adjusted quintiles of fiber intake, GD, and cholesterol intake, MGD. Every variable was standardized across studies to the extent possible. 6. A missing indicator variable was created for each categorical variable. Adjustment for treatment group was done in the ATBC, placebo or non-placebo, but this was not possible in the ongoing WHS because of confidentiality issues. The estimated HRs for unsaturated fatty acids and carbohydrates can be interpreted as the estimated differences in risk of a 5% lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids and carbohydrates, respectively. In other words, the results may be interpreted as replacing SFAs with unsaturated fatty acids or carbohydrates. Methods for pooling the study-specific HRs follow those described by Smith-Warner et al. 17. The study-specific logs of HRs were weighted by the inverse of their variances, and a pooled, combined, estimate of the HRs was computed by using a random effects model. Evidence for between studies heterogeneity among the study-specific HRs was assessed by using the estimated between studies variance component Q statistic. To evaluate potential effect modification by age, the study population was divided into two age groups in further analyses, 60Y at entry and 60Y at entry. Effect modification by sex and age was investigated by including a cross-product interaction term between the exposure variable and sex or age. Pooled p-values for the test of interaction were calculated by using squared-walled statistics by pooling the study-specific interaction log HRs and dividing by the square of the SE of the pooled interaction term. The resulting statistic was referred to a chi-square distribution with 1DF. The proportional hazards assumption was checked by including a cross-product interaction term between the exposure variable and the stratifying variable age. Why? We tested the exposure variables for nonlinearity in a spline regression model. The analyses were performed by using SAS statistical software, Release 9.1, SAS Institute Incorporated, CARI, NC, and Stata statistical software, Release 9.0, Stata Corporation, College Station, TX. Results. Characteristics of the cohort studies are given in Table 1. During 4-10Y of follow-up, 5,249 coronary events and 2,155 coronary deaths occurred among 344,696 persons, 71% women, Table 1. Combined HRs and 95% CIs for coronary events and deaths for a 5% lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids or carbohydrates are shown in Table 2. There was an indication of an overall direct association between substitution of MUFAs and risk of coronary events, HR. 1.19. 95% CI. 1.00, 1.42. But not between substitution of MUFAs and risk of coronary deaths, HR. 1.01. 95% CI. 0.73, 1.41, Table 2. There was an overall significant inverse association between substitution of PUFAs and risk of coronary events, HR. 0.87. 95% CI. 0.77, 0.97. And between substitution of PUFAs and risk of coronary deaths, HR. 0.74. 95% CI. 0.61, 0.89, Table 2. There was an overall significant direct association between substitution of carbohydrates and risk of coronary events, HR. 1.07. 95% CI. 1.01, 1.14. But not between substitution of carbohydrates and risk of coronary deaths, HR. 0.96. 95% CI. 0.82, 1.13, Table 2. There was no effect modification by sex, Table 2. Study-specific and combined HRs and 95% CIs for coronary events and deaths for a 5% lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from PUFAs or carbohydrates are shown in Figure 1. Combined HRs and 95% CIs for coronary events and deaths among persons aged 60Y at entry and persons aged 60Y at entry are shown in Table 3. Among women aged 60Y, there was a borderline significant inverse association between substitution of PUFAs and risk of coronary events, HR 0.73. 95% CI 0.53, 1.01. Among women aged 60Y, the HR was 1.22, 95% CI 0.84, 1.77, Table 3. Among men aged 60Y, the HR was 0.90, 95% CI 0.72, 1.12, for PUFAs and coronary events. Among men aged 60Y, the HR was 0.81, 95% CI 0.65, 1.01, Table 3. Among women aged 60Y, there was a strong significant inverse association between substitution of PUFAs and coronary deaths, HR 0.49, 95% CI 0.29, 0.83. Among women aged 60Y, the HR was 0.73, 95% CI 0.48, 1.11, Table 3. Among men aged 60Y, the HR was 0.83, 95% CI 0.61, 1.13, for PUFAs and coronary deaths. Among men aged 60Y, the HR was 0.78, 95% CI 0.54, 1.12, Table 3. There was no effect modification by age among women or men, Table 3. There was no effect modification by sex among persons aged 60Y or 60Y, data not shown. Figure 1. Study-specific and combined hazard ratios and 95% CIs for coronary events. A. N equals 306,244, and coronary deaths. B. N equals 327,660, in the pooling project of cohort studies on diet and coronary disease. The model included intake of monounsaturated fatty acids, polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, trans fatty acids, carbohydrates, CHs, and protein expressed as percentages of total energy intake, E%, as continuous variables, total energy intake, kcal-D, as a continuous variable, smoking, never smokers, former smokers, or current smoker of 1-4, 5-14, 15-24, or 25 cigarettes D, BMI, in kgm2, 23, 23-2, 25, 25-2, 27.5, 27.52, 30, or 30, physical activity, levels 1-5. Highest attained educational level, high school, or high school, alcohol intake, 0, 0-5, 5-10, 10-15, 15-30, 32, 50, or 50 GD. History of hypertension, yes or no, and energy-adjusted quintiles of fiber intake, GD, and cholesterol intake, MGD. Age at baseline, Y, and the calendar year in which the baseline questionnaire was returned, Y, were entered into the model through the Strata statement. Within each study, hazard ratios with 95% CIs for the incidence of a coronary event and of mortality from coronary heart disease were calculated by using Cox proportional hazards regression with time and study, Y, as the time metric. The study-specific logs of hazard ratios were weighted by the inverse of their variances, and a combined estimate of the hazard ratios was computed by using a random effects model. The estimated hazard ratios for PUFAs and CHs can be interpreted as the estimated differences in risk of a 5% lower energy intake from saturated fatty acids, SFAs, and a concomitant higher energy intake from PUFAs and CHs, respectively. The squares and horizontal lines represent the study-specific hazard ratios and 95% CIs, respectively. The area of the squares reflects the study-specific weight, inverse of the variance. The diamonds represent the combined hazard ratios and 95% CI. AHS, Adventist Health Study, ARIC, Atherosclerosis Risk in Community Study, 8 TBC, alpha-tocopherol and beta-carotene Cancer Prevention Study, FMC, Finnish Mobile Clinic Health Study, GPS, Glostrup Population Study, HPFS, Health Professionals Follow Up Study, IIHD, Israeli Ischemic Heart Disease Study, IWHS, Iowa Women's Health Study, NHSA, Nurses Health Study 1980, NHSB, Nurses Health Study 1986, VIP, Visturbitan Intervention Program, WHS, Women's Health Study. Table 2. Combined hazard ratios, HRs, for coronary events and coronary deaths per 5% increments in energy intake from polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, or carbohydrates, CHs, in the pooling project of Cohort studies on diet and coronary disease 1. All women men HR, 95% CI, p-value, test for between studies heterogeneity HR, 95% CI, p-value, test for between studies heterogeneity HR, 95% CI, p-value, test for between studies heterogeneity p-value, test for effect modification by sex coronary events 2.
MUFAS for SFAs.
Model 13 1.39, 1.20, 1.61, 1.33, 1.01, 1.74, 1.47, 1.25, 1.73, Model 24 1.19, 1.00, 1.42, 0.32 1.15, 0.84, 1.58, 0.30 1.23, 0.98, 1.55, 0.32 0.49 PUFAS for SFAs Model 13 0.69, 0.59, 0.81, 0.66, 0.54, 0.81, 0.68, 0.52, 0.87, Model 24 0.87, 0.77, 0.97, 0.70 0.85, 0.68, 1.06, 0.51 0.87, 0.76, 1.01, 0.61 0.84 CHs for SFAs Model 13 1.06, 1.01, 1.12, 0.98, 0.90, 1.06, 1.10, 1.05, 1.16, Model 24 1.07, 1.01, 1.14, 0.51 1.00, 0.89, 1.12, 0.72 1.11, 1.02, 1.20, 0.37 0.13 Coronary deaths 5 MUFAS for SFAs Model 13 1.16, 0.83, 1.60, 0.97, 0.62, 1.52, 1.31, 0.82, 2.09, Model 24 1.01, 0.73, 1.41, 0.18 0.88, 0.51, 1.54, 0.27 1.10, 0.71, 1.69, 0.18 0.40 PUFAS for SFAs Model 13 0.57, 0.42, 0.77, 0.51, 0.29, 0.89, 0.64, 0.46, 0.90, Model 24 0.74, 0.61, 0.89, 0.40 0.61, 0.37, 1.01, 0.14 0.80, 0.64, 0.99, 0.81 0.24 CHs for SFAs Model 13 0.93, 0.82, 1.06, 0.85, 0.68, 1.07, 1.00, 0.86, 1.15, Model 24 0.96, 0.82, 1.13, 0.05, 0.86, 0.65, 1.13, 0.16, 1.03, 0.86, 1.24, 0.14, 0.081. MUFOS, monounsaturated fatty acids, SFAs, saturated fatty acids. 2. N equals 306,244 for all, N equals 215,006 for women, and N equals 91,238 for men. 3. Model 1 included intake of MUFOS, PUFOS, trans fatty acids, protein, and CHs expressed as percentages of total energy intake, as continuous variables, and total energy intake, kcal-D, as a continuous variable. Age at baseline, Y, and the calendar year in which the baseline questionnaire was returned were entered into the model through the Stratus statement. Within each study, HRs with 95% CIs for the incidence of a coronary event and of mortality from coronary heart disease were calculated by using Cox proportional hazards regression with time and study, Y, as the time metric. The study-specific logs of HRs were weighted by the inverse of their variances, and a combined estimate of the HRs was computed by using a random effects model. The estimated HRs for unsaturated fatty acids and CHs can be interpreted as the estimated differences in risk of a 5% lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids and CHs, respectively. 4. Model 2 included variables in Model 1 and smoking, never smokers, former smokers, or current smoker of 1-4, 5-14, 15-24, or 25 cigarettes D, BMI, in KGM2, 23, 23-2, 25, 25-2, 27.5, 27.52, 30, or 30, physical activity, levels 1-5. Highest attained educational level, high school, or high school, alcohol intake, 0, 0-2, 5, 5-2, 10, 10-2, 15, 15-2, 30, 32, 50, or 50 GD. History of hypertension, yes or no, and energy-adjusted quintiles of fiber intake, GD, and cholesterol intake, MGD. The estimated HRs for unsaturated fatty acids and CHs can be interpreted as the estimated differences in risk of a 5% lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids and CHs, respectively. 5. N equals 327,660 for all, N equals 228,150 for women, and N equals 99,510 for men. View large table 3. Combined hazard ratios, HRs, for coronary events and coronary deaths per 5% increments in energy intake from polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFOS, or carbohydrates, CHs. Among women and men aged 60Y or 60Y in the pooling project of cohort studies on diet and coronary disease 1. Women men, 60.
Y 60 y menos de 60 y 60 y.
HR, 95% CI, p-value. Test for between studies heterogeneity HR, 95% CI, p-value. Test for between studies heterogeneity p-value. Test for effect modification by age HR, 95% CI, p-value. Test for between studies heterogeneity HR, 95% CI, p-value. Test for between studies heterogeneity p-value. Test for effect modification by age coronary events 2.
MUFOS for SFAs.
Model 13 1.13, 0.87, 1.45, 1.42, 0.93, 2.16, 1.44, 1.06, 1.94, 1.65, 1.29, 2.11, Model 24 1.03, 0.73, 1.44, 0.37, 1.27, 0.74, 2.17, 0.69, 0.89, 1.13, 0.74, 1.72, 0.09, 1.43, 1.04, 1.96, 0.46, 0.64 PUFAS for SFA's Model 13, 0.56, 0.44, 0.73, 0.89, 0.62, 1.29, 0.73, 0.55, 0.97, 0.71, 0.57, 0.87, Model 24, 0.73, 0.53, 1.01, 0.34, 1.22, 0.84, 1.77, 0.48, 0.15, 0.90, 0.72, 1.12, 0.37, 0.81, 0.65, 1.01, 0.55, 0.80 CHs for SFA's Model 13, 0.96, 0.83, 1.10, 1.01, 0.87, 1.17, 1.09, 1.02, 1.16, 1.14, 1.05, 1.24, Model 24, 0.98, 0.86, 1.12, 0.42, 1.09, 0.88, 1.36, 0.50, 0.92, 1.12, 1.00, 1.24, 0.34, 1.14, 1.00, 1.29, 0.85, 0.85 Coronary deaths 5 MUFAS for SFA's Model 13, 0.70, 0.22, 2.26, 0.95, 0.57, 1.58, 1.35, 0.79, 2.30, 1.25, 0.74, 2.11, Model 24, 0.87, 0.32, 2.39, 0.10, 0.67, 0.34, 1.32, 0.94, 0.72, 1.09, 0.74, 1.62, 0.58, 1.35, 0.80, 2.25, 0.42, 0.87 PUFAS for SFA's Model 13, 0.42, 0.20, 0.86, 0.57, 0.31, 1.05, 0.75, 0.57, 0.97, 0.64, 0.40, 1.02, Model 24, 0.49, 0.29, 0.83, 0.68, 0.73, 0.48, 1.11, 0.42, 0.58, 0.83, 0.61, 1.13, 0.39, 0.78, 0.54, 1.12, 0.38, 0.82 CHs for SFA's Model 13, 0.79, 0.46, 1.35, 0.82, 0.69, 0.97, 1.02, 0.84, 1.23, 0.98, 0.86, 1.12, Model 24, 0.91, 0.62, 1.34, 0.17, 0.80, 0.61, 1.06, 0.73, 0.79, 1.08, 0.82, 1.43, 0.09, 1.03, 0.80, 1.33, 0.29, 0.401. MUFAS, monounsaturated fatty acids, SFAs, saturated fatty acids. 2. Adventist Health Study and Glostrup Population Study had insufficient events for analysis of all coronary events among women aged 60Y. Atherosclerosis Risk in Community Study, Nurses Health Study 1980. Envistorbitan intervention program had insufficient events for analysis of all coronary events among women aged 60Y. N equals 176,036 for women aged 60Y. N equals 27,026 for women aged 60Y. N equals 66,405 for men aged 60Y. And N equals 24,833 for men aged 60Y3. Model 1 included intake of pufos, trans fatty acids, protein, and CHs expressed as percentages of total energy intake, as continuous variables, and total energy intake, kcal-D, as a continuous variable. Age at baseline, Y, and the calendar year in which the baseline questionnaire was returned were entered into the model through the Strata statement. Within each study, HRs with 95% CIs for the incidence of a coronary event and of mortality from coronary heart disease were calculated by using Cox proportional hazards regression with time and study, Y, as the time metric. The study-specific logs of HRs were weighted by the inverse of their variances, and a combined estimate of the HRs was computed by using a random effects model. The estimated HRs for unsaturated fatty acids and CHs can be interpreted as the estimated differences in risk of a 5% lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids and CHs, respectively. 4. Model 2 included variables in Model 1 and smoking, never smokers, former smokers, or current smoker of 1-4, 5-14, 15-24, or 25 cigarettes D, BMI, in KGM2, 23, 23-2, 25, 25-2, 27.5, 27.52, 30, or 30, physical activity, levels 1-5. Highest attained educational level, high school, or high school, alcohol intake, 0, 0-5, 5-10, 10-15, 15-30, 32, 50, or 50 GD. History of hypertension, yes or no, and energy-adjusted quintiles of fiber intake, GD, and cholesterol intake, MGD. The estimated HRs for unsaturated fatty acids and CHs can be interpreted as the estimated differences in risk of a 5% lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids and CHs, respectively. 5. Adventist Health Study, Finnish Mobile Clinic Health Study, Glostrup Population Study, and Women's Health Study had insufficient events for analysis of coronary deaths among women aged 60Y. Finnish Mobile Clinic Health Study, Nurses Health Study 1980, and Women's Health Study had insufficient events for analysis of coronary deaths among women aged 60Y. Adventist Health Study had insufficient events for analysis of coronary deaths among men aged 60Y. Atherosclerosis Risk in Community Study had insufficient events for analysis of coronary deaths among men aged 60Y. N equals 142,297 for women aged 60Y. N equals 37,253 for women aged 60Y. N equals 68,158 for men aged 60Y. And N equals 24,357 for men aged 60Y. View large discussion. This study suggests that to prevent CHD, SFA intake should be replaced with PUFA intake rather than MUFA or carbohydrate intake. However, the effects of substitution of carbohydrates may vary depending on the quality of the carbohydrates consumed. Several classifications may be relevant to CHD risk, including 1. Dietary fiber content, 2. Extent of processing, whole compared with refined grain, 18, or 3. Glycemic index, 19. In this study, only type of fat, not type of carbohydrates, was considered. The estimated HRs for carbohydrate intake in this study, however, may reflect variation in glycemic carbohydrate intake as variation in fiber intake was taken into account in the analyses. An advantage of the pooling project of cohort studies on diet and coronary disease is that publication bias is reduced because of the inclusion of cohort studies. Adventist Health Study, AHS, Atherosclerosis Risk in Community Study, ARIC, Finnish Mobile Clinic Health Study, FMC, IWHS, Visturbitin Intervention Program, VIP, and WHS, from which results on dietary fats and risk of CHD have not been published. Moreover, pooling data allowed studying this topic in different populations with different diets and over a wide range of intakes. Table 1. Other advantages included the ability to evaluate whether the exposure-disease association is modified by other risk factors. Information bias is unlikely to have affected the present results as diagnoses were established independently of the dietary recalls of the participants. Dietary intake was determined by using a food frequency questionnaire or a dietary history interview, which may reflect habitual eating pattern. Only baseline information regarding dietary habits was available. The lack of repeated assessment of dietary intake excludes possible analytic approaches to reduce random measurement error. Generally, measurement error leads to underestimation of the true risk and to loss of statistical power for testing associations, under the assumption that measurement error is non-differential with regard to the outcome. Using calibrated dietary data would provide information on range of absolute intakes by reducing systematic measurement errors across studies and the estimation of total food intake. In this study, however, exposure measures were expressed relative to total energy intake, which substantially reduces errors in the estimation of total food intake. Additional confounding from other CHD risk factors not taken into account remains a possible explanation for the observed associations. In this study, additional adjustment for suggested dietary CHD risk factors, vitamin E, vitamin C, and folic acid, did not change the HRs, but the CIs became slightly wider. 3 randomized trials of dietary fat intake and risk of CHD that evaluated primary preventive interventions have been conducted, 20-22. In 2 of these 3 trials, total fat intake was not reduced, but SFA intake was replaced with PUFA intake. In the Los Angeles Veterans Administration trial, 20, the incidence of CHD events manifested by sudden death or myocardial infarction, MI, was lower in the intervention group than in the control group after 8Y of follow-up, although not statistically significant. In the Minnesota Coronary Survey, 21, no difference between the intervention and control groups was found for CHD events manifested by sudden death or MI. However, the study was relatively short in duration, 4.5Y, and the achieved PUFA intake to SFA intake ratio, 1.6, in the intervention group was far below the specified goal, 2.5. No randomized trials have reported the effects of replacing SFA intake with carbohydrate intake on CHD risk. The Women's Health Initiative Dietary Modification Trial, however, has reported the effects of reducing total fat intake and increasing vegetable and fruit intake on CHD risk, 22. Over 8.1Y, the dietary intervention did not reduce the risk of CHD events manifested by CHD deaths or non-fatal MI. The lack of effect on CHD in that study might have been due to the limited reduction in SFA intake and concomitant reduced intake of unsaturated fatty acids, which resulted in a limited decrease in the LDL cholesterol concentration. One follow-up study found an inverse association between intake of PUFAs and risk of CHD deaths, 23. That study, however, did not address the difference in risk of a lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from PUFAs, but the difference in risk of a higher energy intake from PUFAs, independent of energy intake from SFAs. Another follow-up study examined the risk of CHD for a lower energy intake from SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from unsaturated fatty acids or carbohydrates, 4. The results from that study showed that replacing SFAs with unsaturated fatty acids was inversely associated with risk of CHD, whereas replacing SFAs with carbohydrates was not associated with risk of CHD. The present study, however, cannot be considered independent of that study because the present study was partly based on the same participants. The beneficial effect of replacing SFAs with unsaturated fatty acids is also in line with time trend data from Poland, where mortality due to CHD has decreased in parallel with an increase in PUFA intake and with a decrease in SFA intake between 1990 and 1999, 24. Thus, The present results that suggest that replacing SFAs with PUFAs may have a greater benefit than replacing SFAs with carbohydrates are in agreement with previous studies. Substitution of MUFAs for SFAs decreases plasma LDL cholesterol concentration. 25. The indication of an increased risk of CHD associated with a lower intake of SFAs and a concomitant higher energy intake from MUFAs may be due in part to intake of TFAs, which is included in the sum of MUFAs. However, all study-specific HRs of MUFA intake and risk of CHD were adjusted for TFA intake with the exception of the study-specific HRs from the AHS, the Glustrup population study, and the IIHD because information on TFA intake was not available for participants from these cohort studies. Furthermore, in analyses only including participants from the 8 cohort studies, ARIC, 8TBC, FMC, Health Professionals Follow-Up Study, IWHS, Nurses Health Study 1980, Nurses Health Study 1986, VIP, and WHS, for whom information on intake of TFAs was available. Adjustment for TFAs did not change the combined HRs, data not shown. The adjustment for TFAs, however, is highly probable to have been incomplete because of industrial modification of the content of TFAs in foods during the time period of the follow-up of the participants. Other mechanisms than reduced LDL cholesterol concentration, however, may be involved. 26. Finally, it should be mentioned that the main source of MUFAs was animal fat, whereby confounding from other dietary components in meat and dairy products cannot be excluded. It has been suggested that the association between major types of fat and risk of CHD is modified by sex and age. 5. 27-30. This study suggests that to prevent CHD, SFAs should be reduced and replaced with PUFAs among all middle-aged and older women and men. However, it cannot be excluded that associations may be stronger in subgroups, but our study only provides a suggestion for these possibilities. In conclusion, the associations found in this study suggest that replacing SFA intake with PUFA intake rather than MUFA or carbohydrate intake prevents CHD over a wide range of intakes and among all middle-aged and older women and men. The author's responsibilities were as follows: MAP and AA, Study Concept and Design and Data Acquisition, MUDGE, EJO, BLH, MAP, KB, Jeff, UG, GH, PK, SL, PP, Ds, JS, JV, WCW, NAA. Interpretation of data and critical revision of the manuscript for important intellectual content, MUDGE, Draft of the manuscript, and MUDGE and EJO, Statistical analysis. None of the authors had any conflicts of interest. Footnotes. 2. Supported by the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, National Institutes of Health, Grant R01HL 58904, and the Danish Heart Foundation, Grants 021-9F7-22961 and 02-2-9-8-22010. The establishment of the Research Unit for Dietary Studies was financed by the Female Researchers in Joint Action Program from the Danish Medical Research Council. References